So if you're struggling with focus, if you feel like you're not cutting it, if you're unhappy in some way, number one would be don't settle and have realistic expectations. Like, do you wake up every day and you're like, I don't really want to go to work. This isn't really what I want to do in my life, but it's okay because that's part of life. That's just what I have to do. I have to work the 9 to 5. I need to get my health insurance. Just all these things. You realize the average person spends 50 years of their life working like that 9 to 5. And you don't want to be the person that looks back and says, I just spent 50 years of my life not doing what I really want to do. And that's what this conversation is all about. I'm supposed to be married by this time. I expect to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, like these things these are kind of like limiting beliefs, like they're expectations and their goals, but they're not useful and they're not realistic. So I'm talking about the status quo of what we think we should be and the midlife crisis type stuff or early life. I mean, it's happening earlier and earlier. To be completely honest with you, my dad, this happened earlier than I could remember. And Dad, if you're listening to this, you probably should hear it. I can level with myself a lot too. But when I was around 2 years old, he made a decision to leave a company because he thought it was tanking. And this was right during the dot-com boom. And he made a poor decision. And he basically spent 30 years of his life afterwards trying to fit that ideal that I shouldn't have failed in business, that I should be this status quo, and that caused incredible rifts and I think a loss of quality of life because of that, pursuing goals that aren't even meant for yourself. So I guess one of the things, and this is a really long number one, but just like actually, and we'll get to this, that'll be homework, is to find out what you truly, truly want. If there was nothing in your way and has nothing to do with what other people expect of you, and everything to do of what would make you light up. For me, it's helping people. And you guys have allowed me to be able to do that. And none of that wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for people that created like YouTube or the internet and saying, here's this problem, I'm going to come up with a solution. And I don't care how many people say that I shouldn't, that I shouldn't spend all my time coding. This is what I want to do, what I really want to do. So hopefully that makes sense. This idealism, right? So you have the idealism of what people expect from you. Instead, write a list of what you would like for yourself, right? And you may actually find out. So say you want to have a girlfriend, or say you want to have more friends or something like that. For me, I'm kind of like projecting a little bit about friends because I just got to Seattle. So, but instead, you may find out when you actually write your goals down that it's like that Jimmy Buffett song, where they talk about, I like pina coladas. Essentially, you may find out that what you are looking for, you've actually had, and that you've just undervalued it. Like your friends are actually there, and you just need to reach out to them. If you write a realistic set of goals, that's the best way to be productive. So, number 2, my goodness, this is so long, you guys. I'm sorry. Baby. Yep. And that's Luddite says absolutely correct. Baby steps. Number 1, life does not follow pre-planned paths. Wow. You made me say that out loud. That's a shame. 5 times fast. You do footwork for what you want and see where you go. It's not always the result you expect. So that's the number 1 constant. We want to feel like we're in control. Things that going to talk to that person is a scary thing because we aren't in control of what they're going to say. And taking those risks is really, really important. And something I also have to work on for sure. So, number 2, really quickly, I'll make up for number 1, I'm sorry. When are you most productive? So another thing that I see from like motivationalists are like, get up at 5 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, no. It may be slightly weighed towards home office, these tips, but also, if you can express to your boss, when are the times that you're most productive? For me, it seems like I don't get much done until like lunch. I've actually started to have my lunch earlier because of this, because it's like, that's when my brain kicks into gear. Some people could be super late at night, now within reason. Now, if you got any of the emotional stuff, like just block that out of your mind because you need to hear this. Number 3 tip on being actually productive for the flighty brain, such as myself, is block out that time. So if you can block the time out where you are most productive, that would be super ideal. If you can't do that, then that's okay too. But it's important to shield yourself from others distracting you. So if you have a home office, people, kids or whatever, could be coming in and bothering you. If you have to have a do not disturb sign, do it. Basically that time should be yours. And if you have to opt out, or if you can opt out of meetings, explain why, and explain that you're here to work, and that all these meetings about things that aren't exactly relevant. I mean, most people are coders. I mean, you need that uninterrupted time, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I have this really cool app on my phone now that's called Timesheet. It's made from some German guy, and I've been committing like English translations and stuff like that. But what I use, if I had it, do I have it? Okay, well, my legs are haphazardly holding up my setup right now, but I will link all the resources that I found. And essentially, this timesheet is from the moment I start working, I track what I'm doing. And that can be good for, like, say you start Redditing or something like that, distracting yourself. You can be your own worst distraction as well. Yeah. So you can start quantifying how much time you're spending in what place, and that is seriously some of the most valuable. TH1 on IRC is saying that's why he burns the midnight oil, because he's just to himself. And absolutely. I'm seeing freeze frames of myself gesturing. It's like not the prettiest thing in the world. I should just talk like this instead. And Stu Reedy had asked if I still use the Pomodoro timer. And what that is, it's the concept of you should try to work like constantly devoted work for like 20 minutes in bursts, right? And then take a short period of break. And so a Pomodoro timer is kind of like that Pomodoro tomato timer. And just set yourself a timer to just work uninterrupted. Block off your time and schedule yourself on Google Calendar if you have that, if you want to. Now, let's see. Operating on your best. Number 4. Okay, so I saw that somebody said have a giant list, and I totally agree with that. But if you're prone to panic attacks, I would suggest not operating off of the giant list of to-do lists. You should pare it down to manageable tasks, right? So this sounds weird, but if you can try to actually get in the habit, like that's the key, right? To work this motivation muscle, or just, that's bullshit, really. I mean, you're never going to want to get up and clean your kitchen. If you are, you're a freak of nature, and I totally would love you at my house. I will cook for you forever, and like we can be best of friends, and you can borrow all my video games, but that's not the point. The point is that this session is kind of bullshit in the way that you can be motivated, right? for things that you want to do. And that's the number one ADD brain problem, right? It's like, and I'm not even saying ADD as in the diagnosed thing. I'm talking about anybody who thinks a little bit differently, a little bit more mad scientisty. And that's why I hope you watch me and that you've been staying with me for this long, you know. That's the problem is that motivation doesn't come. And so when it doesn't come, we don't want to do it, and we'll find any way to distract ourselves otherwise. So if you can take that big list, if you can motivate yourself enough to write a list of the stuff that you have to do, then the following night, this is the key, ready? It's the organizational key. The following night, so basically that night, write yourself a pared down list. I would say don't have more than 4 things on your to-do list, right? And then the most amazing thing will happen, because you'll be able to be unconscious, and while you're sleeping, your mind will piece all those things together that you have to do and help you solve what you need to solve in that pared down list. So number 4, have a giant list, but pare it down to manageable nightly tasks. In fact, sometimes with my videos, if I've done that, if I've made the list the night before, the small list, I'll actually wake up and be like, oh, I just thought of something. Like, you know, just like let your crazy brain work for you in that way. I hope that makes sense. Please tell me how you guys operate. Mad scientist-y. Cool. Just every time, just taking like a really quick second to check the IRC. If you guys missed this video, well, you'll be watching the recorded version. So this is a patron IRC. This is basically my crowdfunding support channel, but I obviously release it for you guys too. And there have been some health issues that I've had, and I'll go into that, but thanks for still being a subscriber for sure. And yeah, you know how that is. Cool. So, and that's interesting. Cal Milner, God, I'm terrible at names. I really hope I nailed it. Says, when I'm working from home, I go into shared Google Hangouts with people, so I know how to take a break from work. We refer to it as the virtual water cooler. That is really awesome, speaking as a person who gets inside their own head too much and like actually needs to like do the work-play balance a lot better. So yeah, that brings me into my next topic is, I'm looking at you, kid. Here's looking at you, kid. You're not good at multitasking. No matter what you think, you're just not. I know that you may think that you can, you know, come up with elaborate plans, or that coding is automatic and you can listen to music with vocals while you're watching something on YouTube. And like, some of my friends are like artists, and like this may totally work for them, I guess, but like they draw and then they have like a show they're watching, and it's just like, they've actually done a study, let's see where, that multitasking lowers your IQ, right? So they did a study at the University of London, found that participants who multitask during cognitive tasks, right, which is pretty much every single thing you should be doing at work, they experienced a IQ score decline that was similar to what they'd expect if you smoked weed or if you stayed up all night. So when your IQ drops 15 points because you're multitasking and you're now like responding to your boss's emails at an 8th grade level, you're doing it wrong. And it's so hard not to multitask. So that goes up to the Pomodoros and to the trying to have quantifiable points of focus, right? Quantifiable, I am working from this time until this time. No boss, you can't interrupt me. No kids, I'm sorry, do not disturb. Like, because once you become interrupted, it could take you 25 minutes to like reset that, right? 25 minutes to reset into focus mode. So when you think of how many times you're interrupted at work, actually, there was a great TED Talk where he started off by saying, ask you guys too, how many, on an average day, how many hours of uninterrupted work do you get in? Do you get 6 hours of uninterrupted work time? And people are like, 6? Oh my God. 5, 4, 3, like, it's ridiculous, right? So, no, don't multitask. You're going to be writing to people on an 8th grade level. And one of my viewers, Alicia, said that it's been suggested. So, as far as managing email, because like we all have email. Oh my God. If you don't have email, let me know what you're doing in life because you're freaking amazing. Email, I'm pretty sure, was just invented so we can find more ways to multitask and have multiple conversations at once. Remember the last time, like, if you've ever called someone and they didn't answer your call but then sent you a text message or an email, like, that's them trying to multitask and they suck at it. So you should not be like them. So my viewer Alicia said that it's been suggested before that people should check and return emails only twice a day, once at lunch and then at the end of the day. The idea behind it is that you'll get people used to you not being an email machine and get used to also not being an email machine. Do you think this idea would work? And I honestly think it should be like 2 days. That email should not be assumed like as an instant communication. You can call somebody for that. You can like try to rework these expectations that people have on you at work and the expectations you have of yourself in your own workplace. And I have the last one. I sped through it. Hopefully you guys are still with me on that. Exactly. Yeah, Zytron is completely right. Email is not important. It's left alone with no alerts until I have time between work sessions. Now, if you can find a way, because I know there's some sysadmins out there, stuff like that, and support tickets are a thing, and if you can find a way to have some instant communication, but not all instant communication. Your email shouldn't be instant. Your phone shouldn't, like, pick one thing that you use that you can be reliably available during emergencies, like the sysadmin of your life, right? So if the server goes down in your life, they can call you, you know? But other than that, recondition your friends, recondition your family, and people at work that you need to be able to block off that time. And if you have a blocking mode on your phone, use it. And this may be hard for you too. Like I found, I took my mom on a cruise. It's a long story, but I was adopted. She wanted to go on a cruise, but they found out that they were going to have me, like the stork was going to bring me. So my mom ended up deciding that she wasn't, she was going to have me instead of going on a cruise. So I took her on a cruise, and that's just like a little bit of a backstory. And when we were there, the internet was just ridiculously slow, and I had to abstain, and I went through withdrawals. So I promise you that this blocking and like what's the word? Delegating in your own brain, setting these compartmentalized time slots are going to be hard, but they will be worth it. I promise you. And it looks like some of you guys already have that going, so that's really, really cool. Hopefully some of this has been helpful, because number 6 of the be productive as a mad scientist-y type person is realize your life is awesome. And like, just to dial it down, there have been, especially that I was going through this health issue, there have been serious times where I'm like, why am I here? What have I done wrong? Like I'm realizing that I'm asking the wrong questions. The question shouldn't be, why don't I have these friends? Why does this always happen to me? The question should be, what can I do to reach the goal that I have, right? So one of my goals is to be able to grow. Like that should be everybody's goal. That's what makes us feel good. when you think about something, if you look back, you don't think about the time where you were reconfiguring your server. You don't think about the time where you're playing video games. Not at the core. You think about when you went up to those groups of people and you started talking about, hey, maybe it was reconfiguring a server, but the point is you took that risk. You got away from the console, or like, I'm preaching to myself a little bit here too, but it's when you took that risk and maybe you were shot down, but the point is you did it. And the more and more that you stop associating risk with pain, the better it will be. I was actually thinking about, like, this is dramatic, right? But those like athletic bands. I was thinking about, I almost don't want to say this on the internet. I know this is going to be on the internet, but basically we associate risk with pain. So for me, going up to people, right? I'm like a social person, but it's hard to push through that. So I always tell myself, like, what would I do if I was 10 times bolder? And then try to do it. That's my like thing. And so when I see and I want to talk to some people, and you start immediately going, and you sabotage yourself. You're thinking, oh, this person's not gonna like me. They're not gonna enjoy what I have to say. They don't care. Before you get to that point, I was gonna like snap my wrist with that athletic band. So instead, I disassociate pain with risk and associate pain with not taking a risk. That might be a little out there, but basically, anticipation is what kills you. It's never as bad. Like, if you think of the shot that the doctor gives you, they're like, okay, well, we got to give you your shot, and you're like, oh, in your head, because that's what we do. We're highly complex, thought-provoking beings, and so we're going to highly complicate and make our daily life complex. So realize that today is awesome. Your life is awesome. And remember the last time you did something with determination and focus, right? From the beginning to the end. Like, maybe you painted a room, maybe you like finished the back end or the front end of a website, and you went, wow, I'm a badass. And realize that you can do that moving forward ad infinitum, and you don't have to give up. And that's what should fuel you. That's what can fuel you. So I guess my question would be, I don't know if it's going to cut me off, but my question, and I would love for you to put in the comments of thinking of all that in mind. And I know it was kind of a, like, again, flighty mind thing, brain dump, but rewatch it and list your 3 goals. What do you really want to do that maybe you've been afraid to do? For me is go to, like, there's this thing called circuit church. It's like this, I would know nobody, but the point is, what do you want to do? That and don't think about what's been holding you back and how you're a failure or anything like that. What do you want to do? I'm giving you the Girl Scouts honor right now. And send me it in a private message or comments or the Patreon thing or anything, and we can go through it together. We can tackle it together. So if you guys see your names at the end of this video, I just wanted to thank you guys specifically. But as always, every one of my subscribers, I want to thank you too, for being able to be a part of my growth process. So hopefully I can help you just even that much. I hope so. Anyway, talk to you guys later. Bye.